Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IAS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and this is season 3 of our daily answer writing initiative. As you know that the coordination of this initiative happens with our website rajisacademy.com. On the website in the mains answer writing section you will see a list of questions and उन questions पर जाकर आप comment section में अपना answer या तो type कर सकते हैं या फिर उसकी photos click करके comment section में post कर सकते हैं. You can either type your answer or post your answer as a type in the typed format in the comment section here on the mains answer writing tab. So the discussion for day 27 could not take place on Saturday due to some technical issues. We were lacking, we were like one video behind on Friday itself. So today we'll be taking discussion for two questions. The question that appeared on Friday in Friday current affairs discussion and the question that appeared on Saturday's current affairs discussion taken by Reddy sir, Madhu Reddy sir. So the question for day 27 was discuss the salient features of Forest Rights Act 2006 and answer in 150 words. I have received, we've received a lot of answers already on this question. So here we'll discuss the sample answers. So in case if you're not sure about how to improve your answer, now you can learn it with us. So first of all, the discuss is the directive here. So whenever discuss is the directive, you just don't have to write about the one side of it. You have to discuss that. Discuss means a written debate. So you have to tell about both the sides. So whenever it is written that discuss the salient features of Forest Rights Act, yes, you have to elaborate them. Yes, you have to explain them in detail. But you also have to explain the challenges associated with it or the downsides of the features or what are the loopholes in this particular act at present. So after writing introduction, we'll talk briefly about the features, and after the features, we'll talk briefly about the challenges, and then we'll sum up with the way forward. So the answer should have a nice structure. The answer should have a good structure whenever you are addressing a question. For example, if you're talking about this act, Forest Rights Act of 2006, what you have to do is not just straight away start writing about the features, or do not just give its full form about what this act is called, what are its other names. Give the significance of it. Why was this act enacted in the first place? ये act लाया ही क्यों गया था? क्यों इस एक्ट की ज़रूरत पड़ी? सो द फर्स्ट थिंग इज़ दैट द सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप जो कि ट्राइबल्स या फॉरेस्ट में ड्वेल करने वाली कम्युनिटीज़ में होता है, द सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन फॉरेस्ट एंड फॉरेस्ट ड्वेलिंग कम्युनिटीज़, it found recognition in our national forest policy of 1988. So this is something that you can mention in your answer, because ये वाली जो forest act है, the forest act of 2006 has been enacted, is in place just to recognize that symbiotic relationship. उसको एक legal तरीका देने के लिए, उन लोगों को legal rights provide करने के लिए, it is one of the ways out of the many forest acts that we had in place. So the policy called for the need to associate tribal people in the protection, regeneration and development of forest. So this creates a base for your answer that yes, whatever legal provisions we will be discussing, we understand the meaning of it, that role of tribals, role of forest dwelling communities will be discussed in protection of forest, in meeting their livelihood needs. तो वो सब हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे आगे वाले बॉडी पैराग्राफ में. ये चीज़ आप इंट्रोडक्शन में ही क्लियर कर देंगे. सो द एग्जामिनर नोज, एग्जामिनर को आपकी इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ के ही पता लग जाएगा कि आपको आंसर आता है. नेक्स्ट वन इज दैट इट इज़ देयर टू प्रोटेक्ट द मार्जिनलाइज सोशो इकोनॉमिक क्लास ऑफ सिटीजन्स एंड बैलेंस द राइट टू एनवायरनमेंट. हमने एक साइड पे हमने फॉरेस्ट को प्रोटेक्ट करना है. वी हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट द एनवायरनमेंट ऑन वन हैंड, एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड we have to protect the right of life and livelihood of these forest dwelling communities. So this is a very important line here. These 3-4 lines will make a very good introduction. So just learn from it, incorporate these points in your answer. Over land and other resources. So minor forest produce has also been included in this. So this finishes your introduction talking about the national forest policy, symbiotic relationship, about the protection of forest and recognizing or balancing the need to protect land and the need to recognize the livelihood needs. Now what are the features? The first feature is that it recognizes the rights, it recognizes and vests the forest rights and occupation in forest land in forest dwelling scheduled tribes and other communities, other traditional forest dwellers. So OTFD and FDST, these two are the short forms that you will be using a lot in your answer. So it gives those rights to these two communities for generations. Next one is that it establishes the responsibilities also and the authority also for the sustainable use of forest and forest resources, its conservation of biodiversity and maintenance of ecological balance. So all the responsibilities and duties of both these communities have been recognized. Now what kind of rights are given? For that, either you can write down point number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or what you can do is under this point have sub points starting from here. So either use Roman, small Roman numerals, or use just A, B, C, D, and then write down. Without this heading, just writing about the rights, that will also do, but if you write the heading, the examiner will be able to understand it easily. Or what you can do is draw a diagram kind of a thing, and for example if you are writing title rights here, so just explain a bit there itself. So in the title rights, that it gives both these communities the right to ownership to land farmed by tribals or forest dwellers up to 4 hectares. So 4 hectares तक का जो लैंड होगा जो कि वो कल्टिवेट कर रहे हैं, उस लैंड पर उनकी ओनरशिप इस्टेब्लिश कर दी जाएगी. The next one is ownership is only for land that is actually being cultivated. So this is against under the title rights only. Then the second part is about use rights, that usage rights में minor forest produce has been included. The minor forest produce has been included in the usage rights. Grazing areas, for example, for grazing their cattle, they can enter forest area. Their cattle can graze the grass in the forest area, and then they can come out. So grazing rights and rights to pastoralist routes, जो old ancient routes हैं उस पर वो travel कर सकते हैं. They can go from one place to another through those routes even if they are passing from these forests. The next one is relief and development rights. For example, in case of illegal eviction has taken place, किसी से उसका land ले लिया गया है, तो वहाँ पर आप relief और development rights दे सकते हैं. The land can be returned. और forced displacement जहाँ पर हुई है तो उनको basic amenities provide करना and justice provide करने के provisions है. The next one is forest management rights. It includes the right to protect, regenerate or conserve or manage any community forest resource which they have been traditionally protecting. For example, sacred groups होते हैं, तो जो like traditionally जो जिस area को वो manage करते आ रहे हैं, these two communities, they will be given all the rights to manage those communities. The management rights of forest to protect these areas are vested in them. The next is who can claim these rights? People who have been cultivating land, or people members or community of the scheduled tribes who primarily reside in and who depend on the forest or forest lands for bona fide livelihood needs. One. The second one is कि जो लोग 3 generation से उस forest area में रह रहे हैं, 3 generations sums up to around 75 years. So it can be also claimed by any member or community who has for at least 3 generations prior to this date of 2005, when this act was brought into place, primarily resided in forest land for bona fide livelihood needs. And the fifth one and the most important one, जो कि बहुत सारे questions में नहीं, बहुत सारे answers में नहीं देखने को मिला, was the role of ग्राम सभा. ग्राम सभा is very important. In fact, prelims में भी ये question बहुत ही recurrent है, that in this Forest Rights Act of 2006, which is the authority that has power. So Gram Sabha is the authority to initiate the process for determining the nature and extent of individual forest rights or community forest rights. So Gram Sabha has most of the power in this case. Gram Sabha, not just the Gram Panchayat, not just those few members, but the entire community, entire like Gram Sabha, they come together and then they decide. So moving on to the challenges. First of all, tribals or these communities, they are not a very big vote bank. Then state governments, what they do is they keep them out of the limelight. Vote bank नहीं है तो उनके rights secure नहीं किए जाते. It is not a priority for state governments to secure the rights of these communities. Secondly, these communities, they are not educated. They do not know about their rights. They do not know that the land they have been cultivating, that cannot be encroached upon, and it actually belongs to them after the enactment of this right. So implementation is a big problem, because acts related to environment are not entirely compliant with the law and illegal encroachments take place. Tribals are not a big vote bank, so subversion of FRA to for other activities takes place from time to time. Unawareness at lower level, or lack of awareness at lower level, or at the level of these communities also, and at the level of lower level officials also, they are also sometimes not aware. The forest bureaucracy has misinterpreted the FRA as an instrument to regularize encroachment. For example, if the land is a little bit bigger than 4 hectares or bigger than that, so they create legal hurdles sometime, or they themselves are not aware. So it has been used as an instrument to regularize encroachment rather than to help these tribal people, these people from scheduled tribes, and help conserve the forest in this and promote this symbiotic relationship. So what can be the way forward? The first solution for every problem is that generate awareness. If some people are not aware of the rights, make them aware of the rights. Include, like, empower the Gram Sabha even more, and educate the people, educate the lower level officials. That is the need of the hour. And develop a strategy of training and capacity building of people who are responsible for implementing this FRA, and the relevant maps and documents. Maps and documents are very important. If everything happens in the electronic mode, everything is crystal clear, then encroachments can be reduced. Finally, for summing up, what you can say is that this minor forest produce, and if you see Naxalism or left-wing extremism, wherever rights of peoples have been encroached upon, rights of lands of people have been encroached upon, these areas have a lot of Naxalism or left-wing extremism prevalent. So this right, it is a tool at the hands of government to give rights, to give livelihood rights and minor forest produce rights to the forest dwelling communities or tribal people, and enhance their quality of living, recognize their livelihood needs, enhance their quality of living. And with time, if this act is properly implemented, if awareness is generated, proper implementation happens, then problems like left-wing extremism or Naxalism, they can be tackled. So the government of India views MFP or minor forest produce rights as a means to curb Naxalism, since the states most affected by Naxalism are also home to the maximum number of people dependent on forest produce. Even though the implementation of the act remains the most difficult one, because forest areas are very far-fetched from prevailing civilized, prevailing urbanized areas, but the importance of this act cannot be neglected, and hence more and more effective implementation should take place. So this is your complete answer. I hope it is clear to you now that whenever you have to discuss a particular act straight away, then the examiner will not give you a list that you have to talk about challenges also, you have to give a way forward also, or an example from current affairs, for example about Naxalism, or any judgment of Supreme Court, any case pending in the Supreme Court which talks about encroachment of encroachment on lands of these people. तो आपको ऐसा क्वेश्चन में आपको डायरेक्टली नहीं पूछा जाएगा, आपको खुद से इंश्योर करना है कि जो आपका क्वेश्चन, जो आप आंसर लिख रहे हैं, दैट हैज़ अ 360 डिग्री पर्सपेक्टिव, वो आंसर कंप्लीट होना चाहिए, कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन उसमें मिसिंग नहीं होनी चाहिए, एंड द आंसर शुड बी विद इन word limit. So this was about your answer. If you want to check the full answer, it is there on our website, the link is there in the description. And before signing off, we are about to discuss the second question for today that was supposed to be discussed on Saturday, and the question for the day is for day 28. Let's see what is it. So this was the question for day 28, that why do places like Mawsynram and Cherrapunji that apparently receive the highest rainfall in the country face recurrent droughts? Answer in 150 words. So this is a geography question. Madhu Reddy sir took a discussion on this topic, a very extensive discussion on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. The video is there on our YouTube channel. You can refer to it in the weekly subject-wise current affairs section or that playlist. The first thing that you have to see here is that this is a geography question, and the directions for geography answers are that any geography answer is incomplete without a diagram or a map. So what you can do is either in map represent that what kind of rains reach Cherrapunji, what kind of what is the wind system that reaches Cherrapunji and Mawsynram that makes it due to which a lot of heavy rainfall takes place. इतनी हैवी रेनफॉल इस एरिया में क्यों होती है, या तो आप उसका मैप बना सकते हैं, या जो इसके रीजंस हैं कि इस एरिया में ड्राउट क्यों है या वाटर स्कैरसिटी इतना ज़्यादा क्यों है, उसके लिए आप सॉइल प्रोफाइल का डायग्राम बना सकते हैं. इफ़ यू हैव लर्नड अबाउट सॉइल प्रोफाइल, आइदर यू कैन ड्रॉ दैट डायग्राम. So first of all, 150 words में आंसर करना है. You have to answer this in 150 words. So you have a very short word limit. But the good part is कि geography के answers बहुत सीधे होते हैं. They are very straightforward. So you don't have to induct a lot of information. बहुत ज़्यादा information नहीं डालनी है. What you can do is just straight away start writing your answer. Give a brief introduction that what is it with Mawsynram and Cherrapunji. Either talk about the wind system there. आप वहाँ की hills की बात कर सकते हैं कि उधर इतने hilly area में इतना rainfall क्यों होता है, और just briefly write about that the places of Mawsynram and Cherrapunji are used to clouds floating near surface. This is a very general statement, nothing with regards to geography. But once the monsoon is over, people have to battle water crisis during dry months. They have to queue up at taps and fight for water in these areas, though they receive highest amount of rainfall, and but they face recurrent droughts. What are the reasons? The following are the reasons. The first one is deforestation. Now the people of these areas say that the forest area that we have, it is sacred to us and we never cut those trees. But deforestation illegally has been happening, which have been enjoying political patronage. बहुत सारे politicians ने कुछ deforestation activities को support किया है industries develop करने के लिए. ज़्यादा industries नहीं है, but वहाँ का जो logging industry है उसके लिए deforestation support किया गया है. So due to that, the holding capacity of the soil वो reduce हो गई है. So the soil there is not able to hold a lot of water. So deforestation is one of the reasons. The places still get much rain, but with very few trees still standing, all the water just flows of the steep hills. The second one is that there is no a very good culture of rainwater harvesting. क्योंकि पानी बहुत plentiful था, water was very much available, it was available in plenty. जो भी चीज़ plentiful होती है उसको conserve करने की थोड़ी सी tendency कम होती है लोगों में. So there is no culture of rainwater harvesting because residents, they never felt the need of it. The third one is जो top soil है, the rainfall has so high intensity that you will not be able to see what is 4 feet beyond you, and that too not also in a vehicle. If you are even walking or standing, आप 4 feet दूर देख नहीं सकते. rainfall इतनी ज़्यादा intensity की होती है. तो इतनी intense rainfall की वजह से, due to such high intensity of rainfall, the quality of top soil, it has degraded. उसमें microbes available नहीं है, the quality is not good, and what has come up is hard rocks, जो कि top soil के नीचे hard rock वाला जो layer होता है, hard rocks have actually come up to the surface, and hard rocks, what they do is water slips through them. They are not able to let water go down the surface because holding capacity होती नहीं है. So the high intensity rainfall has almost ruined the topsoil health, and the considerable part of land is exposed to hard rocks, which doesn't provide any opportunity time to rainwater to infiltrate into the deeper soil. Hence groundwater is also poor for this region. Now earlier these people had bore wells. They say कि जैसे आसाम में bore wells होते हैं, people used to have bore wells, they used to have stored rainwater, but with this rural jungle converting into urban jungle clusters of with this rapid development that is happening, now bore wells are not there and population has increased. The last point also, it talks about population. एक तो climate change की वजह से, due to global warming, the amount of rainfall that these places receive has gone down. So एक तो रेनफॉल का जो अमाउंट है वो कम हो गया. सेकेंडली पॉपुलेशन हैज़ ग्रोन ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 10 टाइम्स. पॉपुलेशन 10 गुना बढ़ चुकी है. एंड अर्लियर जो कि हॉट स्प्रिंग्स पर डिपेंडेंट हो जाते थे ये लोग, दे यूज्ड टू गो डाउन हिल, get water from the hot springs, or they had their own borewells. That borewell culture has gone down with time, and hot springs पे pressure बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया. So hot springs are not able to address to the water needs of, or water demands of all the people who are there, because earlier the population was less, so water springs were enough even if there was water scarcity in dry seasons, but now they are not enough. So these are the 5 broad reasons, just couple them with a diagram or a map of your choice, whether you can use two also, you can use a map also, and you can give also the soil profile, top soil के बाद जो hard rocks वाली layer होती है, you can give that soil profile also in your answer, and it will fetch you really good marks. So in the conclusion, that what you can say is that these are the reasons that acute water scarcity happens during November to March, when that much rainfall doesn't take place. So early, and there is one more problem, that is of water supply system. So water supply systems hilly areas में set up करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. So whatever were the earlier water supply systems that were set up in a way that they had to cater to a small population. But now the pressure on them is rising. People complain that we get like state water supply only for a few hours a day. 2-3 घंटे के लिए पानी आता है, उसमें नहीं, उसमें भी pressure नहीं होता. So people fill a lot of buckets. So there is no equality that exists there, and the services provided by the state are not good. So this needs to be looked in. So this can be given as a solution, that water supply given by the PWD department or the state, for example, that needs to be improved, and hence these water scarcity levels will not bother people. So these problems need to be addressed on priority basis. Alternative solutions needs to be resorted to. You can always write afforestation in such solutions. The local water supply system can be improved. The mountainous lands may not support the construction of large reservoir, but rooftop rainwater harvesting can make a difference. So this is the second solution that you can give. Also, more or less checking climate change and its effect will go a long way in addressing problems of these areas, because climate change adversely affects these areas which are so pristine in nature, and which get really affected very quickly due to climate change or global warming, and people have been complaining about reducing rainfalls over time. In fact, there are ऐसे बहुत सारे areas हैं, there are many areas. For example, in a town, one part of the town will get a very heavy rainfall, while the other part remains dry. So this also has been seen in these areas. So this is how you can frame your conclusion. The entire answer is there on our website. Now let's call it a day, and both the answers are there on our website. The link is there in the description below. You can go to the website. If you haven't written your answers yet, write them, post them, get the feedback of our experts entirely free of cost, and stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow with another discussion.